this big, beautiful economy that actually was rolling pretty good with jobs and inflation coming down feels more like the Game of Thrones Red Wedding.
At this moment in time, with the market down 1,238 points right now on the Dow Industrials and the NASDAQ down 800 right now, and the market's not even open, futures indicating a very ugly opening, now would be the time for some clarity.
Consumer prices are not going down. We're 70% a consumer-driven country. So building a moat around the United States with protectionist and isolationist economic policies are not positive.
In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how Fox News is trying to gaslight America after Trump's tariffs sent the market into freefall. We'll go through clips of them blaming everyone from Biden to China while carefully avoiding the orange elephant in the room. I've compiled the most ridiculous moments where Fox hosts perform logical contortions to avoid saying the words Trump's tariffs caused this. By the end of this video, you'll be able to spot their deflection tactics from a mile away, and you'll see exactly how their loyalty to Trump is being tested now that his policies are hitting Americans in their wallets. Hey, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. We know you want to. Go ahead, we'll wait. Alright, appreciate it. Now, back to the video. Remember when Fox News acted like Trump was some kind of economic wizard with a magic money wand? For years, they couldn't stop gushing about how he could make stocks go up just by tweeting. Every market gain was because of his economic genius.
It was the worst day for stocks since March 2020, and very early this morning, prices were falling again.
JP Morgan upping its recession odds to 60% from 40% previously, citing obviously the tariffs, the effect on business sentiment.
Well, BMW is going to rethink South Carolina because it's not going to import tariffed parts, engines from Germany. They import the parts which will be tariffed, and then they will export them from the United States where they're manufactured back to Europe, where they will be tariffed again.
And every dip during Biden's presidency was clearly proof that Democrats were destroying America. But wow, did that narrative change fast after Trump announced his insane tariff plans? Suddenly, when the Dow plummeted nearly 1,700 points following Trump's promise of 10 to 20% tariffs on all imports, Fox News seemed to develop collective amnesia about how markets work. Laura Ingraham, who once dedicated an entire segment to blaming Biden for a 300-point market dip, barely mentioned the 1,700-point crash. Instead, she spent precious airtime discussing a random Twitter controversy about Taylor Swift. Because apparently pop stars are more important than your retirement savings tanking. Sean Hannity pulled a similar vanishing act, devoting just 30 seconds to what he called normal market volatility before launching into a 15-minute rant about immigration. The hypocrisy is almost comical. When the market dropped 400 points under Biden last year, Jesse Waters called it economic catastrophe and proof that Democratic policies destroy wealth. But when Trump's tariff announcement triggered a drop 4 times larger, Waters casually mentioned that markets go up and down for all sorts of reasons, before changing the subject faster than Trump changes his stories about hush money.
We still have a special relationship.
Well, it's not that special, is it? If you've imposed 10% tariffs on everything.
What? Did I finish my sentences, or are you going to do the usual BBC thing? Would you like to have the EU tariff level instead?
Well, some people here don't really understand why there's any 10% tariff at all, considering the trading relationship between the US and the UK is balanced.
You know, after Brexit, you've reaffirmed your independence, and I think that is being proven today by the special rate that has been afforded to the UK.
The contrast between their previous market coverage and current silence is striking. Remember how Fox and Friends would start each show during Trump's presidency with excited updates about stock gains? They'd practically pop champagne every time the Dow went up 100 points, crediting Trump's business instincts and deal-making skills. Fast forward to last week's crash, and the morning crew spent more time discussing a raccoon that broke into a Walmart than they did analyzing the biggest single-day market drop since 2022. It's the same playbook they use for everything related to their orange messiah. When the news is good, it's all because of Trump's brilliance. When the news is bad, suddenly it's complicated and nuanced, and probably Hunter Biden's fault anyway. What's particularly telling is how quickly Fox hosts transformed from self-proclaimed market experts into confused bystanders. Tucker Carlson, who regularly presented himself as an economic authority during the Biden administration, suddenly suddenly claimed that nobody really understands markets and that connecting political announcements to market movements is simplistic. This coming from the same guy who once said Biden's America means your 401k is doomed after a minor market correction.
Just let me check then. So what does the UK need to offer the US in order to either bring that 10% down or eliminate it altogether?
There should be parity. So if you don't discriminate against US goods, then the other partner, in this case the UK, will not have their products discriminated against. It's not complicated. It's very, very simple. The goods of each trading partner should be handled and should be taxed, should be tariffed at commensurate rate.
Even funnier were the hosts who did acknowledge the drop, but immediately tried to spin it as actually good news. The market is just adjusting to Trump's strength, claimed one contributor with a straight face. Another suggested that smart money is just taking profits, as if investors were thinking Trump's tariff plan is so brilliant I better cash out now. Sure, January. The real kicker came when Maria Bartiromo, once nicknamed Money Honey for her market expertise, tried to claim that the massive sell-off was actually investors showing their excitement about Trump's economic vision. That's like saying people run screaming from burning buildings because they're just so thrilled about the warmth. When they couldn't completely ignore the crash anymore, Fox hosts suddenly discovered the concept of nuance. Markets respond to complex factors, explained Brian Kilmeade, who apparently never considered this perspective during the Biden administration when every market hiccup was direct evidence of presidential failure. The pivot was so jarring that even some regular Fox viewers noticed the hypocrisy. Social media filled with comments from confused conservatives wondering why their favorite network was suddenly downplaying market movements after years of treating the Dow as a presidential report card. Perhaps the most impressive feat of mental gymnastics came from The Five, where Greg Gutfeld suggested that the market wasn't actually responding to Trump's tariff announcement at all, but rather to fears about what Biden might do in response. That's right, even when Trump explicitly causes a problem, it's still somehow Biden's fault. Olympic-level mental gymnastics deserves a gold medal. Fox's ability to blame Biden for Trump's economic mess brings gaslighting to an art form that would make Picasso jealous. The timeline couldn't be clearer. Trump announces massive tariffs, and within minutes, the market tanks. But in Fox News land, that's just too inconvenient a truth. Instead, they deployed their elite Blame Biden brigade with such coordinated precision, you'd think they rehearsed it for weeks. You've got to admire the creativity though. It takes serious mental gymnastics to watch a market crash happen in real time following Trump's tariff announcement and then convince yourself it's actually Biden's fault. That's like watching someone throw a rock through your window and then blaming the neighbor across the street who was taking a nap at the time. The network's desperate attempts to connect the market crash to Biden's policies from months ago was a masterclass in what psychologists call motivated reasoning, or what normal people call making stuff up to feel better. Fox hosts crafted an elaborate fantasy world where somehow Biden's economic decisions from last year created a time-delayed market reaction that just happened to coincide perfectly with Trump's tariff announcement. Weird coincidence, huh? What's particularly impressive is how they managed to flip the entire concept of cause and effect upside down. According to several Fox commentators, the market wasn't responding to what Trump explicitly said he would do, you know, the thing that was literally happening as stocks plummeted, but rather to fears about what Biden might do in response. That's right, they blame Biden for a hypothetical future reaction to Trump's actual announcement. It's like blaming your neighbor for how they might respond after you set their lawn on fire. This blame-shifting strategy wasn't just annoying, it was a deliberate attempt to protect Trump from criticism while maintaining their carefully constructed narrative that he's an economic genius. Fox viewers were essentially being told not to believe their own eyes or basic principles of time and causation. The market crashed after Trump's announcement because of Biden. It's the economic version of who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Meanwhile, in the reality-based community, JP Morgan analysts were raising recession probability to 60%, specifically citing Trump's proposed tariffs as the primary factor. This critical analysis was conveniently missing from Fox's coverage. Funny how that works. When financial experts directly contradicted their preferred narrative by drawing a clear line between Trump's tariff announcement and the market's nosedive, Fox simply pretended not to notice. It's worth noting that this selective amnesia only applies when the news is bad for Trump. Trump. Remember how quick Fox was to give Trump credit for every market gain during his presidency? A 200-point increase was definitive proof of his economic genius. But a 1,700-point drop right after his tariff announcement? Just a mysterious coincidence that probably has something to do with Biden or China, or maybe those pesky windmills causing cancer. The network's coordinated effort to shift blame allowed them to create an alternate reality where Trump's economic policies aren't causing harm, despite what the actual market was literally doing in real time. This isn't just bad analysis, it's deliberately misleading viewers who trust the network for financial information. Many Fox viewers are retirees with significant investments, and the network is essentially telling them not to worry about policies that financial experts warned could devastate their retirement savings. Economic experts across the spectrum couldn't have been clearer about the connection. The market's reaction was immediate and dramatic precisely because investors recognized the devastating impact these tariffs would have on American businesses, consumers, and the global supply chain. But somehow Fox News knew better than the actual financial experts who make their living understanding market movements. Perhaps most telling was how the network completely ignored the expert rebuttals that provided crystal clear explanations of the market's reaction. These weren't subtle or complex arguments, they were straightforward assessments that directly attributed the sell-off to Trump's tariff announcement. Yet Fox chose to construct elaborate theories linking Biden to the crash rather than acknowledge the obvious. The funny thing about financial markets is they don't care about your political team. They respond to real economic factors, not wishful thinking. When Trump announced a policy that would effectively impose a massive tax increase on American consumers and businesses, investors didn't need Fox News to tell them how to react. They sold off stocks because they recognized a bad economic policy when they heard one. While markets were busy tanking, something even more awkward was happening behind the scenes. Trump's most loyal defenders were jumping ship faster than rats fleeing a sinking Titanic. The conservative unity around Trump's economic genius is cracking like an egg dropped from Trump Tower, and it's not just the usual suspects raising red flags. You know things are getting serious when Ben Shapiro, yes, that Ben Shapiro, the fast-talking conservative darling who usually defends Republican policies like they're written on stone tablets, is calling Trump's tariff plan one of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. That's not coming from some liberal economist or Democratic strategist. That's from one of conservatism's most reliable voices. Shapiro didn't stop there, warning that Trump's reciprocal tariffs would slap hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans. When your own team starts using phrases like massive tax increase, you've officially entered the economic twilight zone. The business world isn't exactly throwing a parade for Trump's tariff tantrum either. BMW, which operates a massive plant in South Carolina, is reportedly going to rethink South Carolina because of how these tariffs would pummel their operation. See, they import engines from Germany, slap them into cars built by American workers, and then export many of those vehicles. Under Trump's brilliant plan, they'd get hit with tariffs coming and going. What happens when BMW rethinks their South Carolina plant? Those aren't imaginary jobs that disappear. They're real American workers who suddenly find themselves in the unemployment line. So much for the America First job creation strategy. The inflation warnings are piling up faster than Trump's legal bills. A Fox Business report, yes, that's right, even Fox Business, quoted economists warning that these tariffs would jack up prices for regular folks and push inflation even higher. The same report highlighted how Trump's planned 10% tariff on all imports, combined with his extra reciprocal tariffs, would soon show up in inflation data. Translation for normal humans: everything you buy is about to get more expensive, from your morning coffee to the clothes on your back. JP Morgan's analysis doesn't paint a prettier picture either. They're predicting that auto tariffs alone should boost vehicle prices by about 5%, and that's on top of the other tariffs Trump already announced. Remember when buying a car wasn't like taking out a second mortgage? Those were the days. JP Morgan also warned these price hikes would squeeze real disposable income growth to below 1% next quarter, creating a material headwind to consumption growth. In non-banker speak, that means Americans will have less money to spend, which slows down the entire economy. Recession, anyone? But here's where the rubber really meets the road. These aren't just abstract economic theories. When prices jump by 5% on big purchases like cars, that's real money coming out of real Americans' pockets. The same Americans who watch Fox News, the same Americans who vote Republican, the same Americans who are now watching their retirement accounts shrink while being told that paying more for everything is somehow making America great again. What's most fascinating is watching Fox News hosts squirm when their own guests go off script. During what was supposed to be a standard Blame Biden segment, one economic analyst pointed out that tariffs are taxes paid by American consumers, not foreign countries, causing the host to suddenly remember they needed to cut to a commercial break about MyPillow or something equally urgent. Another Fox Business segment featured a guest calmly explaining that no serious economist supports widespread tariffs before being interrupted with breaking news about a celebrity scandal. The awkwardness on display is almost worth the economic pain almost. Fox News has spent years telling viewers that any economic policy from Democrats would destroy their financial future, but now they're stuck trying to explain why paying more for everything is actually patriotic when Trump suggests it. It's like watching someone try to convince you that getting a root canal without anesthesia is actually a luxury spa treatment. Even Republican-friendly business groups like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce have called the tariff plan a new tax on American families and businesses. When the Chamber of Commerce, which has never met a Republican economic policy it didn't like, starts warning about your plan, you know you've wandered into dangerous territory. It's like having your mom tell you your haircut looks terrible. If even she won't lie to protect your feelings, you've really messed up. What we're seeing now at Fox News is a financial reality check smacking right into political loyalty. It's like watching someone try to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Entertaining, bound to end badly. When the market crashed after Trump's tariff talk, Fox faced a brutal choice: blame their golden boy or lose all economic credibility. The funny thing about financial pain, it doesn't care about your political team. Those loyal Fox viewers watching their retirement accounts shrink aren't laughing at clever excuses. This market meltdown revealed the truth. When viewers' wallets get hit, even the most loyal propaganda machine starts to crack.